So, I mean,
hello, everybody. Thank you for participating with us today at Empowering Pastors. It is already noon. Can you believe that? Actually, it's 11:59. We have just about a minute for you to get prepared. I really want to encourage you to on the chat section of this because today, like last week, we're going to be doing some discussions. I really want to make sure that you're part of the discussions, part of answers. You never know. You have one deposit that can actually shift a company or a church or a ministry just with one idea. And I just want to share one idea with you real quickly that Pastor Tom Treadway sent to us, which I thought was phenomenal. And I don't think we do. And Pastor Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. He said that at his church, he's actually adding all three age dimensions. So as greeters, he has an older person. He's going to have like a baby boomer. And then he's going to have a millennial, all as greeters at the front door. So that no matter what age group comes in the front door, they're going to be able to be right there and feel welcome even by their own age group, which I thought was a great idea. And do we do that at all here? Is that something we do? Or? We're starting to. Awesome. So I think the more that we have these creative ideas, it doesn't take many ideas. It just takes one or two to really shift an entire organization. So I really want to challenge you to participate with us today online. If you're first time with us, we want to thank you. I want to remind you also, you can go back, you can go to our YouTube page, or you can go to our Facebook page, Empowering Pastors, and you can constantly go back and just click the button and you can watch past sessions. So last week we started with the front door, the living room, and the back door processes of retaining people. And that's what we want to talk about is retention, because retention is everything. Now, what happens if you have an organization that doesn't retain anybody? It's dying or is already dead. You know, they're closing churches like crazy right now because they never added to their congregations. And there are companies that are closing because they don't or the skill or have not focused on acquiring new customers, retaining customers to where they can continue to build on their platform. So there's a need for us to make sure that our front door is in order, our living room is in order, and our back door is in order. Now, next week, I want to remind you, is our meal. I guess we're going to have tacos is what they're telling me. We're going to have a big taco thing, and you can get any kind of taco you want. I'm going to ask for shrimp tacos because I like shrimp tacos. And but next week we're going to eat together. But we're going to cover, I think, one of the most challenging ones, which is the back door next week. So I would encourage you next week to come, maybe do some research or thoughts that you have to where we can start closing our back door. This is an issue that's with every company, every business, and literally every single church. So let's start talking where we were last week. We talked about the front door. We came to some basic conclusions, and that was greeting. So have you ever called a company, and when you call the company, the first thing you get is a mechanical voice? Maybe somebody called, telemarketer calls yours, and this is what they say. Please hold on for a moment for one important message. Click. Well, why? Because, well, there's nothing warm, and there's nothing cozy, and there's no reason I want to stay on a phone line with a computer. You know, a lot of companies have gone to that now where the very first reception is not a reception of a human, but a reception of mechanicals. And how many of you feel that that is positive or negative? How many of you have had a good experience or bad experience? What's your thoughts with somebody when you call their company, you call their church, first thing you get a voicemail voice. You don't talk to a human. You don't like it? You don't like it? You hate it? You hate it? Why do you hate it? You want to talk to a human? Human. Somebody else.
Because they're limited on like things they can do for you. If you have a very specific request, may not cover that. So
the request might not be coverable. Come on, somebody else. What's another good reason not to do that?
Feels impersonal.
Very impersonal. Now, for me, I think what irritates me the most is, please press button number 1 if you'd like to talk to Pastor Spencer. Please press button number 2 if you'd like Pastor Dan. No, I don't want buttons. I want a human. I think humans are important. I've been watching golf this week, and they were playing in Humble, Texas. So just trying to get rid of my H's this week. So human. So it's important that we have a warm welcome and a greeting to where people are feeling that their desire. A groomed human presentation. How many of you have ever been to a location where the person's not groomed, the person has bad breath, and they go, "Hey, what's up?" Besides Cracker Barrel. Have you ever experienced that? What's your first response is, "Oh boy." Have you ever seen a cook come out of the back of a restaurant and their hat is on sideways, their hair is greasy, and their clothes are just covered with stains? And you go, "Wow, I can't wait to eat here." No. Human presentation is everything. Have you ever walked up to somebody and said, "Hi, how are you?" And they went, "Fine, how are you?" And their breath smells like cat poop? Now, I'm saying that because I have actually experienced that. And my first thought was, wow, you need a mint. You know, how about somebody who you know, this whole actor, have you ever seen a business or a company that actually turned away from because of the initial presentation of a human? Yeah. One. What was it? Do you remember? What was the one thing that turned you off?
More than once.
More than once?
The appearance of the hostess.
The appearance of the hostess? You just turned around and left? Anybody else?
The other thing is a website too. If I'm
Ooh.
searching for businesses and the website is just
Because that's a front door.
I don't even bother.
So the statement was, I wasn't sure if you heard it online, was either Facebook or a website. Because remember, that's your front door too. How many people do you have on your Facebook is huge. How many people you have visiting? Listen, when somebody moves to a different area, this is what they say to me: "Pastor, can you help me find a church?" I said, "Absolutely." So I'll get online and I'll put in churches and I'll start looking and I'll see a name that will be more non-denominational. I'll jump on there, and if it plays music, I turn it off and I'll go back.
True.
Isn't it true? Why? There's nothing more irritating than hearing "amazing" while you're trying to browse their website. It is just so, yeah. Am I the only one? No. If they don't have a website, what does that mean? Run. Run. If they have a website that's 1929, what do? Do you send somebody there? No, you don't send anybody there, because you know they're mom and pop. You know they're tiny. You know they're not growing. So all of this, that was a very good point, by the way, about the front door dealing with the website. A warm environment. This is what all of the millennials slaughtered us for last week. It was a great experience. I thank you for allowing me to bleed out loud. And we will be making changes this year. But the warm environment. How many of you have ever walked into a cold environment? I'm not talking like physical atmosphere. I'm talking like a cold environment. Give me an example of a cold environment.
HT foyer.
Yeah.
True. Our church foyer. Very good. Somebody else. Yes.
I had a couple experiences. Different garages.
Different garages.
You go to a dealership and
Yep.
they're like beautiful, but if you go to like a corner garage, it's just dank and cold.
Dank and cold and nasty.
You do not want to be there.
You don't. And I actually was talking about Jay Parmenter last week and his place, and I actually described what it was walking in your door and that little living room suite with the television, with the bathrooms right there, and everything's clean. And how it was a very good presentation, and sitting there was very good. So somebody else, give me an example of a bad environment that you went to that wasn't warm. The DMV, dear Jesus, the Department of Motor Vehicles. That's all you gotta say. Example of somebody that was warm that you went to. Was that? No, Moe's is not.
Yes, it is.
Somebody else. We don't want lies perpetuated within this process.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, what's warm about Chick-fil-A?
They're all friendly and nice.
They're all friendly and nice. So the warm environment had nothing to do with the building. It had to do with the people. Is that what you're saying? Can you have a cold, physical environment warmed by human presentation? Yes? How long and how strong is that? Is that strong? Or is it more strong to have a warm environment and a human?
Yes.
So give me an example of a warm environment that you would go to when you walked in the front door.
Hotel.
Very well said. Who said that? I thought so. Very well said. A hotel. Have you ever walked into a beautiful hotel, man, where it's just, I mean, you just walk in and you go, yeah, you can automatically relax just by walking in the front door. What kind of music are they usually playing? Jazz, classical, soft, not bang your head. Come on, somebody else. Give me some another one. That's a very good example. Somebody else. Warm environment.
Well, lately, Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble,
Yeah.
very warm. What is warm to you about Barnes and Noble? The temperature is warm. You can fall asleep sitting there reading a book. Glory to God. Somebody else. What's that? Coffee. Somebody else?
Saddleback Church.
Saddleback Church. Give me an example.
By the time you hit the front door, you got greeted 7 times, and then once you're in, they have nice music playing in the foyer, and
So, but before you hit the front door, you're greeted 7 times,
all the way up the side.
all the way up the sidewalk. And when you walk in, you hear nice music. Is there a smell of coffee?
There it is.
Jesus.
And then there's bright lights in the foyer.
Lights in the foyer. Very good. So we know that this is an extremely important facet. How about excitement and inviting? Have you ever been to a place where they're like, well, we talked about Moe's last week. I mean, as much as I don't like to eat that food, that's the one thing that jumps out at me. Welcome to Moe's. Yeah, let's move on. Okay. Connection. What does it mean to be to have a connection when you walk into the front door of a business and or a church? What's it mean to you to feel connected? What does it mean, though? What brings that emotion to you?
Well, people knowing who you are.
People knowing who you are. Well, let's say you're a guest. First time in a building, first time at a church, first time at a business. What's going to make you feel connected to that business? Walking in the front door.
Someone smiling and shaking your hand.
Smiling, shaking your hand. You know what I thought was really good last week that somebody said was having pictures, photographs. I thought that was a really good idea. Pictures of the church folk here in the house, or pictures. Where was I? I was at a Chinese restaurant, and where is that one? That's over in the Jubilee Plaza. Want to stop and get some wonton soup, and it takes 15 minutes. And what they had on the wall kept me busy. Now, I didn't feel connected, but it kept me busy. And that was reading different magazines. They had different newspaper articles on the wall. But what would make you feel connected walking into a church? First time in a church, what makes you feel connected?
If you have children, if it looks like children are welcome there.
If you have children, the foyer, the experience makes you feel like your kids are wanted. Your babies are wanted. Very well. Good. What would that be? Something colorful?
Yeah, or not lots of glass.
Not lots of glass. Amen.
Things that you wouldn't want to accidentally let them touch.
Very good. Somebody else? Come on. There are great answers. Jay, what do people say makes them connected with your company when they walk in the door?
Big picture of the pastor and his wife.
It's so bad. So bad. He's gone a week, and this is what he does. He slays the pastor back. How do they feel connected?
Feel connected. We just try to give them a warm invite. I mean, we always try to use their first name. We don't do the Mr. and that. They tell us that. And I don't know if there's right or wrong, but we kind of do that when a customer pulls up. We have 3 guys at the counter, and they'll be like, "Oh, James is here for his alignment," just so that it's embarrassing. We've met the same person a dozen times, you still can't remember their name.
Right.
So we do that. "Oh, hey Jim, welcome. How are you there?" We try to use first names.
Yep. That is a connection. How many of you have had somebody do that to you? How many have had somebody forget your name? What do you think? Somebody else, come on. What's another way to feel connected when you walk into a place? Yes.
So with the name thing, Taco Bell took my name that I ordered, and they were like, "Make Grace's order," and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Grace went to Taco Bell and they got name. Grace personal. Very good.
I was just gonna say, one of the local churches, like when you walk in and you get greeted, they introduce themselves and ask all your names, and then introduce you to another greeter, and then together the both of them like walk you around if you're new, and show you everything. So you're not just meeting one random person who's forced to meet you. You're being introduced to someone and then shown everything.
Very good. Somebody else? Yes.
I know Men's Warehouse, the guy in there has helped you guys. It's Men's Warehouse, right?
Yeah.
He's just so friendly because not only does he remember our names, he remembers like conversations that you had from the past and say, "How's so and so doing?" He makes it very personal and helps.
Now, if I go with that, you know how to fix that, right? Contractually, there are programs that you can put on your phone. ACT, exclamation point, is a software program. Contactually is a software program. You can put right on your phone. And so if you're talking to somebody, when you leave or when they leave, you can write a quick note about them and it will be available to you the moment that you need it. Those are ways if you struggle with memorization. Now, if you've ever been to Joseph A. Banks, the gentleman that's at Joseph A. Banks, I forget his name.
If you use app, you won't have that problem again.
That's true. It is true. I always forget that guy's name. But his voice cracks.
Oh, no.
I can't remember. What's that?
Great guy.
Great guy. And yeah, he's the guy you're talking about. Okay. So this guy here, I mean, I walk in and he says, "Oh my goodness, you can't wear food." You know what I mean? He says, "That's the wrong size." He says, "Please take that off." Take that off. I'll take it back. We'll get it tailored. We'll make it right because you've got to look good. You're in the community. Okay. There's a connection. When I go in there, I look for him because I know he knows what I wear. Very good. Connection. Information. Isn't that another one? When you walk into a place, you want to see if you got to go potty. You don't want to ask 10 people where you're going to go to the bathroom. Also, is it organized and clean? Have you ever been to a cluttered place? What's your first thought when you feel cluttered? Here, it was horrible. Larry Stockstill. He stands up behind the pulpit and he says, "I look in closets." He was in my office for 20 minutes by himself. You know he was looking in my closet. Thank God Terry had it all organized and it looked really good. Glory to God. But you know, my first thought was, he looked in my closet. Because you can tell a person by their closet. You can tell a person by their car. You can tell a person by the front entrance of the building. So that's what we were covering. These are things that you can exchange and work with what you have. We were talking about the businesses that literally they are the front door. And we talked about your dress and your appearance. You know what's amazing is when I went for coaching, they actually taught us as a coach how to dress. So when you go to a company for the very first time, you're going to do coaching in a corporation or with an individual. You always go in with a blue suit, especially if you're going like on a Sunday kind of experience. You're going in with a blue suit. You're going in with high-end shoes. You're going in with matching socks. You're going in with the belt. That's correct, matching the shoes. You're actually going in with a white shirt and a powered on. And what you're doing is that when you have your writing instrument, you're not pulling out a Bic pen, you're pulling out a Mont Blanc or one of the others. And what that does is an immediate show. In fact, they actually teach you that in your wallet, when you open your wallet, there should be a $100 bill sitting in your wallet. And the reason for that is that does something for the people that are watching. Whether they realize it or not, it's subconscious. It automatically says success to them. And it's not that you are saying anything. It's not that you're trying to flash anything. But the truth is that your first impression is your lasting impression. And usually to overcome that is extremely, extremely difficult. We talked about last week that every time someone looks at you for the very first time, they're judging you 11 times in 7 seconds. So,
minutes.
no, seconds. Yes.
I think one thing we're leaving out too also is that too much information can be overwhelming.
Yes.
So information is either being handed to them or given to them verbally. I think that we've got to consider that too, because a lot of times if you're watching body language, people are looking around if you're taking already 2 minutes of explaining everything you have going on. So I think that that can be overwhelming.
Very good. Anybody else? I mean, that's excellent. These are things that, listen, there are people watching online. There are people that will be watching online. There are business people as well as all around that we've got to get some of these things in our pocket. Why? Because our whole goal is retention. Now, when I was an evangelist, I learned that the front door was very important. Let me tell you, as an evangelist, this is what I did. I used to drive a green Caravan. When I first started in the ministry, I was driving a green Caravan, and it was a nice Caravan. I mean, it wasn't new. It was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I'm driving it to the church's locations. I'm getting out with the best that I have. So they're not real nice, and it was probably 8 to 10-year-old suits. I'm wearing just regular shoes, you know, that you get from the store, and they might have been a little cracked here or there because we didn't have a lot of money, especially when you started off in the ministry. And what I found was, as I'm going to these locations, that my offerings are subpar. 500 for a week, 300 for a week, sometimes less than that for a week. And I'm suffering now because it's costing me money to get there. I'm running 2 households when I'm an evangelist on the road. And the evangelist on the road, you're paying for your road expenses and you're paying for your home expenses while your family's home. And so I'm realizing that my front door, it was really an epiphany more than anything. My front door was in. And what I found was my presentation, I didn't want to act really, how do you say that right? I didn't want to act prideful. I didn't want to act like, hi, I'm the evangelist in town. So I would joke around a lot. And my demeanor was not real professional. My outfit when I would show up, would be in jeans and would be like in a t-shirt in my green Caravan. And what I found was it truly affected the offerings. People like to invest in success, not failure. So I bought a truck. It was a 1995 V10 2500 series 4x4 Dodge pickup truck. It was beautiful. I went out and bought some nicer clothes. I went out and bought nicer shoes. And made a determination. I got out of the truck. I was just going to stand up and preach. Within the first 2 ministries, my offerings tripled. All because of the front door. This is important because people truly want to participate with you if they've walked in your front door. If they've invited you, they want you there. The question is not that they've invited you. The question is not that they don't want you there. The question is, are they going to keep you? When you don't retain, then what happens is you diminish. So there's got to be a clear understanding of this is tactical. It's not just something that happens. And I love the Christians that, well, I'm just led by the Holy Ghost. No, you're not led by the Holy Ghost. If you're led by the Holy Ghost, then you're going to get some of these things in your pocket. Because it's smart. It's not foolishness. If Brother Henry went into a business and he's dressed down in a t-shirt with ripped spots underneath his armpits, and he's got stains down the front of his shirt, and he's trying to sell energy, how many people are you going to think are going to keep him? You can walk in the front door. You can even get an invitation. You go sit with a business, and I know that he does the energy for some large corporations. If he walks into the large corporations with jeans that are torn up and shoes that are 50 years old and his hair is disheveled. Sorry.
All 3 of them.
You know, he smells like he hasn't had a bath in a week. these people are going to look at him and say, why would we want to participate with this man? He's unsuccessful. How could we trust him with our business? Remember, this is all about trust. Your front door opens the opportunity for someone to trust you immediately. When someone doesn't start trusting you when they walk in your door, shutting you down. Imperative. I want to talk a little bit about the living room today. And the living room is the next phase. The living room is when they actually walk into your sanctuary, walk into your business, walk into your place of work. Or if you don't have, like if you are that person, what are you creating for an atmosphere even in their office? Yes, Brother Henry.
Have you ever experienced, I know some people think that I used to hang out with Methuselah, but it's not true. But there's also this, I mean, I've heard you preach, only maybe 15 to 20% of people tithe to begin with.
Correct.
So when they see you or some other evangelist pulling up in a nice, beautiful vehicle, you're dressed to the nines, it really actually surprises me that you're triple, because many times it's probably old school. People would go, well, gee, I guess he doesn't need my money if he's doing this well when I'm not doing this well.
Right. And the mindset of that is this, is the people that have that mindset aren't going to give really no matter what you're wearing. Successful people only really want to invest in success. Successful people will not go and buy a stock they know is going to fail tomorrow. They're not going to buy a property they know that is going to lose money for them. This is the process of success. The process of success is that everybody who truly desires to have growth and increase in their life, they want to couple with something that is successful. And that's powerful. I mean, my offerings went up and they stayed up. I still don't make what I made when I was on the road 20 years ago. And it's because, they invested. And I actually only had to preach twice a month. God really blessed us. Not just the signs and the wonders, but really how you posture yourself is your front door. Now, your living room is a little bit different. And I want to talk about, the old timers. Now, I'm not talking old timer in age, but old timer in mentality. Well, we don't need a good looking church. We just need a place for the Spirit of God to dwell and to move. Glory to Jesus. Don't you remember in the old days at the Azusa Street Revival? The benches were set on top of crates, potato crates, and William Seymour would stick his head into a chicken crate and seek the Lord, and not smooth. And that is absolutely true. But we all know that times change. You know that, right? Times change. And whether you like it or not, the living room presentation truly is a reflection to individuals about what you feel and what you believe about yourself and about God. Now, I'll tell you about one of my failures, and that is I've always made statements that have destroyed the opportunity for even some successful people even to come here. And some of those statements were, listen, we're never going to blacktop this parking lot. We'd rather put the money into people than on the ground. Well, that sounds real spiritual, doesn't it? Glory to Jesus. But the fact is that until we put down that parking lot, which cost us $250,000, we had limited the amount of people that actually walked in the door. Well, I remember when Mr. Redner, I really am not one who focuses on the building. I don't need a fountain in the foyer. I don't need chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. Really, I'm one of those old school guys where just give me a pulpit to preach, and if it's a crate, then I'll preach behind a crate. If it's 10 people, I'll preach to 10. If it's 10,000, I'll preach to 10,000. I just want God's Spirit to move and lives to change, people to be saved. Glory to God, miracles, signs, and wonders. That's what I want. But let's be real, not everybody thinks that way. And the fact is, no sinners usually think that way. So the need to make sure that our living room is in order allows them to come into a living room. Have you ever been to, listen now, my wife, when we first got married, she had a lady that she was like her second mom. And this lady had a living room in her house that no one sat on for years. Like that. Never sat in a living room for 20 years. You could look at the living room. You didn't go in there because if you did, she'd have to come in behind and vacuum to make sure the lines were straight. And so my wife, when we first got married, she went out and bought a Queen Anne set. And she put plastic all over the Queen Anne set. And she said, you're not allowed to sit in this living room. And I said, wow, that's just harsh. Because that was at the top of our stairs. We lived in a split level. So when you came to the top of the stairs, there's the Queen Anne set all right up. And it's beautiful. But you can't sit there. I have been to living rooms that, man, I didn't dare to walk into. But then I've been to living rooms where a 60-inch television is sitting there. They've got themselves a couch that's a wraparound couch. You know what I mean? They've got that, recliner in the corner, and they've got some nice music playing, and you walk in there and you just feel like, okay, I feel like I'm at home. Yep, I fit in this place. What was everybody trying to do? They're trying to fit somewhere. What kind of living room makes you feel comfortable? Well, that's a question that I really would want you to answer. What kind of living room makes you feel comfortable?
One that seems lived in.
One that seems lived in?
But not run down.
But not run down. Clean and uncluttered. You ever been to a living room where everything's ripped up and you can smell urine on the couch and you just can't wait to sit down? I went to a house one time and it was in Tennessee. And when I went to this house, a trail that walked into the living room, there was old boxes and nasty stuff on both sides. And then a pile of clothes that literally went to the ceiling. And bags, black bags, hefty bags that were stacked in the corners. And they walked over to their couch and they removed 2 hefty bags so I could sit down. What they would do is they would go to the Salvation Army, get hefty bags full of clothes and rifle through them and take out what they want. They'd wear them 1 or 2 times and then they'd just throw it in the pile. Well, I could smell the urine from the dog. I want you to know that I did not want to sit down. I looked at who I was with and I said, can't say it out loud. And he looks at me and he goes, we need to stay here for a while. No. Why? It was nasty. It was nasty. When a living room is nasty, no one feels comfortable. I gotta be careful what I say. Now, I've been to churches where everything in the church is 20 years behind. And you walk in there. Now, listen, I know what all the millennials said about our foyer last week. So I know I'm throwing ourselves under the bus and I feel tire marks coming over my head. But it's still not 20 years behind. It might be 5 years, but not 20 years. But I've walked into sanctuaries that are 20 years behind and you go, oh my goodness, this is flat back. And it was uncomfortable. It was just nothing that I would settle in. In fact, I couldn't pay attention because I was watching all the stuff on the walls and just mesmerized that they still own those. In fact, we should sell them on eBay and make money as antiquity. So the question is in a living room, it's a lived in but not run down, clean and uncluttered. What else makes your living room look good? People. Very good.
This may just because I'm a media guy, but I hate living rooms with no entertainment center.
Entertainment. Okay.
Smells good.
Smells good. I'm a smell guy. I love smells. You know, there's a living room that I love the most, and I can tell you where it's at. It's located in in Westminster, Massachusetts. I can remember this as a kid. I would walk into their living room. They were Finnish background, and she always had coffee brewing, always, and always had an apple pie fresh on the counter. When you walked into their living room, you could not be overwhelmed with a sense of, I'm home. The living room should give everybody a sense of, I'm home. I belong here. This is where I fit. So where is that in your business? Let's say, like yourself, your business is not in a building. So how can we create a living room wherever you are?
On the individual properties, not just letting the guys string tools all over the place, keeping them neat and tidy if they're not being used. And also, you know, loaded, like with the lawnmowers, same thing. When they get off the lawnmower to do trim in the middle of the lawn, put it back on the trailer, do the trimming.
Excellent. So you're keeping their stuff in right order.
Right.
You ever been and had an electrician come to your house? Electricians are noted for this. Now you have holes everywhere because they're not just going to poke one hole. Now you have holes everywhere. You have dust. You have dust on the ground, and now you got to go clean up after them after they've left. Let me tell you, I didn't. When I was working for my dad, we didn't like electricians, and we knew them as individuals, but they never made anything feel living roomy. Somebody else. What makes you feel good when you walk into a living room? A couch. Oh, say seating. One of the things we have up in Ithaca that has to change is the seats up there are brutal. They're just brutal. Amen. They're the old blue chairs. They're plastic chairs with little metal backings. And it's like I sit down and I went, hey, that's not going to be good. So we know we have to change that. Come on, seating. Somebody's ever been to a house where the seating is bad besides the couch smelling like urine? You can't wait to stay there, right? So what about your personal living room? What do you do? What do you have in your personal living room that when somebody walks in, they go, now this is a peaceful house?
I think it's personal touches, like textures and pieces.
Smells.
Area rug.
What was the other one? There was another one. Colors, very good.
Also lighting.
Lighting, very good.
Natural lighting in particular.
Okay, which is hard for a church.
Yeah.
Because you're not really, the best is not to have natural light. So, but that makes it a challenge because you got to create the atmosphere. Okay, so all of this is dealing with living room, is making somebody feel comfortable. Now remember, what this is all about is retaining people. Listen, if your guys park their stuff on their tulips, you're probably not going to go back and do landscaping, which means now you've lost people. You've lost, what happens when you lose people? Well, number one, if you're a business, you're losing money. Number two, if you're a church, you're losing your money. That's right, it's losing money, whether you like it or not. You know, this is all about presentation. This is all about retaining guests, retaining people that have walked in your front door. Now you've got to create an atmosphere to where they're going to want to stay there a little bit. You know, this is really big with websites. They actually look and they say that if you've created a positive website, that they're not going to stay on page one. They're going to at least go one more page. Anybody who bounces once on your website and just goes to one page and bounces off, it means it's probably not a website that is homey, that is not going to create an atmosphere for them to stay in. There's a need to create a living room experience. Now, in the church world, we call it, what do we call it? What do we call that? Our Sundays, oh, that's what it is. They call it the Sunday experience. Minister Redner's worked extremely hard on bringing up the Sunday experience. Have you ever been to a church and you can't hear the preacher? Isn't that fun? You ever been to a church and the preacher's too loud? Isn't that fun? I mean, the sound team's got a big job because the sound team either keeps or repels people from the living room. You ever gone to a restaurant, you're sitting in the restaurant, now listen now, you've gone to their living room. You've walked into their foyer, it's a nice foyer, you've sat down, you brought your bride there, you brought your individual there because you want to spoil them. You walk down, you sit at the table, and all of a sudden the music is so loud in that restaurant, you can't even talk. Is that a place you can't wait to bring her back to? Come on now. It's not the way it works. You got to hear. So all of this plays a large part in keeping people. So my question is for yourself, in your department, in your business, in your ministry, in your church, what does your living room look like? Now, in our living room, it's a little bit of a challenge. You know, it sometimes really the creation of our building was that there's only one who can take responsibility for that, and that is absolutely me. If I was to redo what we did at His Tabernacle Family Church, we would have, of course, kept our foyer the same way, except put in either rotating doors or put in an outer foyer to break up the wind so that the inner foyer is a little bit more warm. I probably wouldn't have put down the type of flooring that we did because it's a colder type of flooring anyways. I like the ceilings high. I think it makes the room look larger. But what I would have done walking in the door of the sanctuary is the whole sanctuary would have been done differently. It wouldn't have been that the altar is down that end and it's a elongated room. I would have put the altar dead center against one of the walls. And I would have wrapped the congregation around us. Why? They would have felt closer. Whether you like it or not, if you're sitting 30 feet back in a living room trying to hear the television because somebody's talking next to you, you're really not all that excited about being there because you cannot pay attention. And this is a problem that we have in our church. Now, I've been in sanctuaries that are larger, but what's happened is they created a culture that was a normal process for their ministry when they were there. And I want to remind you that when someone comes in for the very first time, the only thing they know is what they're first seeing. So if they're ones that are more adaptable, then they're coming into your living room and the setup of your living room is different than what they would do personally. They might be more comfortable there because they're okay with that. That's all they know. But man, when somebody knows what a good living room is like, they know what cozy feels like. Man, when it's not there, they're probably not staying. And so even in our new sanctuary, we already know what we're doing. We're going to differently. We're going to wrap around. It's going to be theater seating. It's going to have a balcony to where people, no matter where you are, we're probably going to have 25 to 30-foot screens on both sides and one in the middle. The reason for that is because when I was down at Tommy Barnett's in a church of 8,000, they had three balconies. No matter where you sat in that sanctuary, you literally felt like Tommy Barnett was looking in your eyes because of the size screens and how they had the sanctuary set up. That's the living room. What can you do? What could Jay do that could better enhance his living room at the company to where more people, when they walked in, that's something they're going to rave and talk about? Brother Henry, what could you do when you go into a business and create that living room experience to where all of a sudden, man, it's not just that they've let you in the front door where you can expel information, but now they feel that connection in your living room, in your experience. They now feel that they are in your home. All of this is a big part. And in church, it's huge. And sadly enough, when you don't think it through, and sometimes the buildings are all built and it's a kind of too late thing. Larry Stockstill was just talking about this with us, and he was saying how he built a 6,000, he had already the architect come in and he had designed a 6,000 seater sanctuary. Now I need you to understand what that costs. That's probably $500,000 plus to bring in an architect and to build. I usually believe it's 10% of the actual cost of the building is what the architect costs. So it was probably $600,000, $700,000 just for the architect to come in and to design the building. And so he was getting ready to get things collected and to go and to bring in builders and to get quotes and go to the bank. And one of his board members, did you ask your son what he thought? His son, Jonathan, who's a millennial, he said, have you talked to Jonathan, Jonathan, about what he thinks about this building? Because he was going to be the one taking over that church. And he said, well, no, I didn't think about it. So he went to his son and he said, what do you think about this 6,000 seat sanctuary? He goes, I hate it. He said, what do you mean you hate it? He said, it's so impersonal. It's so huge. It's impersonal. He said, well, what would you do? He said, well, I would build a sanctuary that would seat about 800 people and just have multiple services. And then when they started doing research, he was sharing how he was doing research. He's saying the millennials don't like large buildings. They want to feel more personal. They want to feel like they're in a smaller organization where they're collectors being dropped on the road. But here they are. They're part of a smaller congregation, 800 to 1,000. And that church right there, I believe he said now they're having 6 services on a weekend just in that one location. All of this is about building living room experience where someone now has walked in, now they feel comfortable, now they want to come back, they're looking forward to come back, and listen, they'll always bring friends when they come back. So what does your living room look like? Now, our living room, like I said, Minister Redner was working desperately on fixing our living room. And I believe our Sunday experience is better than it's ever been before, but we're still lacking. We're still lacking because we lose people about 2/3 of the way back. We're finding that you constantly, if they're sitting that far back, it's very hard to keep their attention. So either we're going to need to put in 15-foot screens and do a new data projector to where it's going to be right there for them, which is what Maldonado's church does. Maldonado's church, I don't know how deep it is, but it was massive. And in that experience, they had mega TVs all the way through that entire building. So even though he might be this big for the person sitting in the back row, he's actually this big because he's standing right in front of them. One way or another, there has to be some strategic planning to make your living room to where when people walk in, they want to come back. They've got to feel welcome. And it's not just the room itself. It's all of these factors about the smells, the seating, and the personal touch. You know, people got to feel like they're wanted to be there. You know why? At our church, what we do is we do a 5-minute meet and greet. We do that all the time. And, you know, a lot of churches I know don't do that. They don't like that. But the reason we've always done that is our size. I don't want to lose that. What's interesting is our second service is totally different from our first service. Second service, people, we actually cut our meet and greet time down, I believe, to 3 minutes.
3 minutes per service, 1 minute and 30 seconds second.
1 minute, 30 seconds. Okay, let me be corrected. 3 minutes the first service, 1 minute and 30 seconds for the second service. You want to know why? Because second service people will not get up and will not greet people. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is, but they're not going to get up. In fact, I usually have to tell them, why don't you just turn around to the person next to you or behind you and say, good morning. It's amazing to realize even the different people groups that come in and the cultures that we create allow us to have a living room that's very inviting or a living room that is repelling. If your living room is not going to be one that people will want to be in, really your front door is, they're leaving out your back. Everyone that leaves out your back door means that you haven't retained them. And if you haven't retained them when it's talking about business, that means you haven't kept money. And with churches, it means your congregation is not going to grow. So no matter how many people you get in your front door, if the living room isn't going to bring them to a place where they feel wanted and welcome and home, then they're leaving. And if they're leaving, your church is not growing. So this is where there has to be willing to be change. And this is one thing that I love to do, is I really love to hear the voice of the different people that are in the room. Because I believe that one creative idea from you really can change our living room. And I want to keep people. Why do I want to keep people? Well, you just want a big church. Absolutely. What's wrong with you? Of course, that's the right answer. Why do you want a big church? Is God loves. Everyone God desires. Everyone Jesus wants to be in his house. I want a massive church. I want a church larger than our town. Why? I want people to be in the house of God. And if you don't want that, then you've got to question. You've got to question your own heart. Well, I just want a small congregation. Why? That's not homey. That's selfish. And if you got a business, whether you're the living room or not, or whether you have a living room, there has to be some strategic planning to say, what can I implement that will actually bring people to a place when they walk in, they're going to go like this. This is what they say. If a person walks into your church and they don't go like this, they're leaving. Because if they haven't done that, they haven't relaxed. They haven't accepted what's around them. And they go, they're not home yet. And we've got to make them feel like home. So what's your living room look like? What do you want it to look like? So let me ask you a quick question, because I think we have just a few minutes left. If you had the ability to walk into His Tabernacle Family Church and to change our living room, our sanctuary, what would you do?
Lighting.
Lighting? What do you mean by that?
Warmer lighting, the overhead fluorescents, pretty much burn your face out. So lighting out in the congregation and also better lighting on stage.
Half of those ceiling lights don't even
Yeah, I know somebody could help you with the lighting, Pastor Mike.
Can you do what he's saying? Okay, next.
Chairs.
New chairs. What's wrong with the old ones?
Purple. Yeah, purple
I don't know.
Okay. What kind of chairs would you want? I'd like movie theater too, but you can't do movie theater here, I don't think. Because we have our heats in the floor, so we spring leaks. Something else. Come on, somebody. What would you do to change our sanctuary to make it more of a living room experience that you would want people to come to?
Give the sound team a better setup.
Better sound?
Thank you.
I second that. Hold on, it's a better setup. What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Like, rather than just right in the
Our
back of
stuff's
it.
a touch outdated.
Sound
A
system?
better sound system. For them.
Okay. Somebody else. We're talking about right in here. New carpet? What do you mean new carpet?
Actually, the carpet doesn't. Just the stage platform in general. The raised is loud.
I think the carpet's that bad, is it?
It's stained like crazy.
Oh, is it?
Okay. What color would you do? What color would you? Well, it would because of the bounce. No?
I see big stages like that without carpet.
Oh, you're talking about the altar. Oh, I see. So like something like tile, laminate flooring, purple. What color would you do?
I would do wood.
What?
I would do hardwood.
Hardwood.
I
Okay.
don't even see that from that, do you?
Somebody else. Come on. Yes.
In terms of the whole sanctuary, just warm in terms of color and texture.
Color and texture of sanctuary. What would it be?
Maybe like a taupe, just something more neutral, not so cool. I know you have the flags on the walls, but you have to look up for that. So I'd love to see that texture brought around you instead of above you.
Oh, I like
So that would make it feel homey.
that. Around, not above.
You think it'd make it a lot better, a bigger difference if people sat around you, huh? You like that?
You'd be closer.
Right.
And I think that that's one of the big
It would be
issues.
hard to extend out like almost like a catwalk or a runway, would it? And preach out there.
No, I wouldn't mind that. No, I know what you mean.
Moving out.
We actually remember when we did the Fishers of Men. We had a big platform that extended out, but still the people in the far back are dislocated, and so by wrapping like that, everyone's just so much closer.
Online, they said bathrooms.
Bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we need to say much more. Bathrooms.
Simple music in the bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not stone cold and you don't feel like you need to talk to your neighbor.
That's a good idea.
Talking to your neighbor's not good.
Or everything drunk.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
The soundproofing on the back wall.
Yes.
So when you come in, it feels fine, but when you turn around to leave, you
Right.
just have that hideous soundproofing all across. the
Okay,
back.
so color, cover the sound boards.
Yeah.
Or even get nicer looking.
Somebody else.
Lighter colored walls around like the back.
Lighter colors on the back wall. You can't do that. It's got to be black. Yeah, for depth, and you can actually change more with the depth. But yeah, I understand what you mean. But you can change that with lighting rather than with extra color. Somebody else, come on. What would it, if you walked into his Tabernacle Family Church? What would make you feel more warm? What would make you feel like more? It's your living room. Yes.
I honestly, walking in from the back, I don't like that there's that big, I mean, I know it's Corey's office. I just feel awkward walking in there, like there's a giant wall right here. And then I have to walk through it to see like the people. I'm just like, I feel like it's kind of sectioned off. And just, I don't know, if I walk in, I want to look over and see other people
It almost
walking in.
turns the foyer
Yeah.
wall up to his office.
Boy, that'd be great, but it's block. Actually, it's not block, it's poured. Well, half of it's poured. They never finished pouring it, so. Okay, that one we can't fix, but I like the idea. Somebody else. Come on, you walked in, you're new in the house. What does it feel like? What does it look like? What do you want to change? What would you change if you could change it to make it feel more warm and welcome?
Just as if you're coming in sanctuary doors and you're preaching or something and there isn't an usher on the door, that sucker slams hard behind you, and then you feel like everybody turns and looks at you.
We do.
You're disturbed. Right. So new door hardware, just simple maintenance on the stuff.
Okay.
I think having greeters or ushers inside the sanctuary who are actually greeting people, as opposed to just handing them a bulletin as they walk through the door.
Like when I first came here, once I walked in the sanctuary, I was all by myself. Like we just walked in
Right,
and there was nothing. There's just a large,
right.
lots of seats. Luckily, we knew someone, so we found them and stuck with them. But
Well, if you would have taken a shower, it wouldn't have been no problem.
I did take a shower.
Okay, I like that.
I think we have like too many seats. in
Too
there.
many seats?
Yeah. And maybe too close together. I don't know. I personally like a full atmosphere. I don't like when it feels empty, and I feel like the back section can feel pretty empty at times.
Yeah.
But that would also require ushers that seat people.
Right.
What if we use the pipe and grate on Sundays too?
No.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that, not the pipe and drape. Good thought, though. I mean, I understand the concept. And now, what a lot of the large churches, remember, they're building large sanctuaries, 2,000, 2,500, 5,000 sanctuaries. What they're doing is they actually have build sections off, and that's what they do, because the only time they're actually able to fill most of the sections are during the holidays. So, like this one that we were down in Florida, they actually have covers for like they have chairs, like seating. They have entire sections, like we have 3 sections. They'll take entire sections and cover them with black, with a black cover, so you can't sit there. You have to walk into the next section. which we've actually talked about here. And you only open that section when it becomes full enough.
We went to another church up in Corning where you walk in and kind of the foyer is not quite the same size as the sanctuary, but it's huge. And they have probably a half a dozen little round tables with coffee pots on them. And everybody is out there, like your meet and greet that you're talking about, the 3 minute, minute and a half. For a half hour before service, that is packed. Everybody's talking, meeting, laughing, making coffee. They're kind of out there socializing. And then they just kind of naturally move into the sanctuary when the music starts, I think, is what the transit. Nobody really ever says anything. They just kind of know to go. But there's a lot of interaction in there with just random people. It's not the same cliques of groups who talk. It's just random people talking. And, the pastor's always out there. And so the church, there's a lot going on right there in that foyer. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I like that. Actually, that was on the list last week. Yep. Somebody else. You walk into the sanctuary. You want to feel homey. What does it say to you? How about the lights? Do the lights work with the different color lights in the backdrop and the backdrop of the altar? Is that pretty? Is that nice? Is that welcoming? Is that homing to you? Yes, no, I don't care. More like, what do you mean more?
More lighting, better lighting.
Better lighting, more lighting?
To make it pop.
To make it pop?
It just, it's a little anorexic, there we go.
Little anorexic. Yeah. Okay, that's a good word. Very good. Somebody else, come on.
You get all the big ones for me.
You hit all the big ones already?
What about the face of the stage? What is it? The big stones kind of laid up?
Yep, that's old style.
Yeah, I'm sure that's my favorite.
Okay. Would look good there?
I don't have a suggestion for it, but that just doesn't.
I don't love the stairs everywhere either.
You don't like the stairs?
There's stairs in some spots would be nice, but not stairs across.
Okay.
I feel like also more like changing stage design, like more than once a year.
Yeah.
I mean, not like every week, but like, just so it's not the same.
Once a quarter.
Yeah, like once a quarter or something, just so it's not the same 5 white pillars that we shift in different formations.
I like it when they lower you into overhead cables.
That was awesome, man. That really was cool. That was
maybe visuals as people enter the sanctuary are really nice too, kind of what to expect to set a tone.
Like how? What do you mean? Like TVs?
Like you could have banners, banner stands or banners on the wall that are like really big, showing portions of worship or the word. So it's kind of like.
Is that in the foyer or in the sanctuary?
In the sanctuary, almost setting like an expectation for what they'll see and what will happen. Also,
well, I can't picture what you mean.
Like this size.
Like this size.
Coming off the wall, or standing straight up in the back. With photos of live what's happening, maybe some of the vision, that kind of stuff. We don't have our vision anywhere in the church, so people have to hope they hear it at some point.
Right now, you just walk into a great tunnel.
That's kind of what I meant for you, is canvas wrapped images as you're going to your station.
Yeah.
I like it.
That would be really easy as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the screens and pictures up. We did, Goodyear's come by and audited all our showrooms, and they made us put up these digital menu boards. We put that 80-inch screen behind our thing down there. It's just a menu board that just plays stupid little things and has pricing on it. But when we ask for feedback, like if somebody will do a survey on our whole location, that's the one thing that they always comment on. Like, wow, I can still see people. They write, wow, huge TV screen, like that kind of catches their eye and just. Big screens, big. No, I don't know. We got more feedback about those screens we put in our locations. We spent tens of thousands and flops and really did them up, and all that anyone ever comments on are those great big TV screens.
Bishop said when he came that our church really needs the real screens. Right now we do data projection, but the real screens are the ones that are TVs that are all put together. What's that? $100,000? $500,000? $50,000.
But even like the foyer, you might be able to jazz up. There's smaller ones there above the doors, right?
Yeah, I think last week you guys were saying that we needed at least 70-inch TVs out there.
I mean, 80 inches are only like $3,500 anymore.
Really? I didn't even know they had 80s. I want an 80.
Sam's Club has 80 Vizios right now for like $3,000 or $3,000.
Really? See, these are all things that are important. What else? I like it. Come
So
on.
they said to relocate the pictures in the foyer to the side hallway of the elderly that have passed.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I loved last having the large, like a whole wall with pictures of people and experiences.
Yeah.
You know, so that it's more personable, it's more interfaced.
Persuasion too.
Yeah. Come on, something else. One more thing, because it's time. One more thing about the sanctuary that you feel needs to change to make it more homey.
Get rid of them really crazy shirts.
You love my shirts. My shirts are amazing. Somebody else. Come on, somebody else. Nobody has anything more.
The location of Henry has a couple things I bet.
Location of the camera?
Yeah, the center camera. I don't know that consistent updated cameras, but it's kind of my way of thinking that in the back section. Plus it also will give you an opportunity to put a screen halfway back for the back sections.
Okay, very good. Brother Henry.
Well, I just come here because it's
You're so bad.
I don't know if anybody said anything. I mean, even now existing, can you make the chairs like at an angle so they do come closer, especially the sides?
Yeah. Seating, Pastor Dan?
The two sides, just at an angle so they come a little closer.
Okay.
We've done that.
I'm gonna be able to
Well, maybe do it again. Well,
I love it.
These are suggestions. It's not a demand.
What I like about this is that I'm doing two things. Number one, for everybody online, businesses as well as churches, we can actually take the time to evaluate what our living room looks like. We want to keep our customers. Is that true or not?
Yes.
We want to keep them. And whether you're mobile or whether you have a brick and mortar or whether you have a church, our goal is to keep our customers. Our goal is to keep the people to come. The front door we've worked on. The living room has to be worked on. Now I'm going to tell you a selfish factor of this is at the end of each one of these, last week and this week, I asked you to do ours, His Tabernacle Family Church. I've done this on purpose because I know that things have to shift here. And I want to hear your ideas because your ideas are important because every idea represents groups of people. And so I want to say thank you for your ideas. And you folks can take this back to Pastor Sean and the other churches that are represented to where you can really look at your living room. What does it feel like? It doesn't matter what you feel like. That's so important. It doesn't matter, leader, what you feel like. I've heard so many, I'm going to end with it. I've heard so many leaders say to me, well, I like it this way. Who cares how you like it? You're already a customer. What about the people that aren't? What do they feel like? What they need? It's not about you. It's about you ministering to them. Whether your pulpit is energy, whether your pulpit is a tire, whether your pulpit is electricity, whether your pulpit is a roof, whether your pulpit is a hammer, your goal is to keep customers. So what's your living room look like? Thank you so much for watching today. I pray that you were edified, built up, and challenged. I love these kind of discussionary things because it brings us all into a place of really evaluating ourselves, which we all hate. We just want everyone to think that everything's good. So be blessed and grow and look at your living room, your church, your business, and evaluate what needs to change to help people feel more comfortable. Have a great day.
Forget the